My brother told me not to show up unless I was useful, so I showed up with proof he forged my signature for a $600,000 loan. My brother texted, "Don't show up unless you've done something useful before Christmas." On the same day, my parents asked me to cover his loan. I sent 1 cent along with the comment, "Good luck, champ." A week later, he invited me to a peace dinner, stating family should stick together. They all remained silent. As I opened my luggage, the bank had just informed me that I had been listed on a 6-figure loan related to his new home. I said nothing but handed a folder across the table and added, "I assumed you'd want a copy." I stared at the message for a whole minute, attempting to understand it in only 10 words. But it felt like a slap, no context. Just a passive-aggressive command disguised as brotherly advice. That same day, as I was still half lying and half reeling from his audacity, my phone rang again. This time it was Mom. I didn't have to open the text to feel the change in my chest. I recognized that tone. "But we need to speak softly before guilt-tripping you," her message stated. "Sweetheart, your brother's mortgage payment is due. He is stressed. Can you cover this month until he gets back on his feet?" I slumped back in my chair and stared at my cold cup of coffee. My brother, Anel, the golden child who always finds a way to avoid responsibility, was once again in need, and once again it was up to me to assist. He had just purchased a new home 2 months earlier, flashy, pricey, and far above his means. I knew it, as did our parents, and hey, even Anel knew it, but he wanted to brag to prove he was doing better than me. I accessed my banking app, scrolled down to my emergency fund account, and instead of sending him the $2,100 they had hinted at, I transferred exactly 1 penny with the comment, "Good luck, champ." The silence that followed was delightful. No phone calls, angry texts, nothing. A week later, Anel issued an invitation to a peace dinner. He said he wanted to make things right before Christmas. The family should keep together. My parents shared the sentiment. Mom even utilized her forgiveness to provide the ultimate gift of the season. I did not respond right away. I needed to see how far this performance could go. So I showed up. The house was completely decked out with twinkling lights, candles, and Christmas platters. When I stepped in, everyone was already sitting, and I was holding my old leather satchel, which I had never taken to family dinners. Anel opened the door himself. "Hey man, glad you came." His grin was wide, as if he'd already chosen how this night would finish, with a reconciliation scene for the family highlight reel. We sat, small chat and uneasy smiles. Dad clinked at a drink and made a statement about unity. I waited. Then, just as the turkey struck the table, I took the folder from my backpack, cream-colored, thick and silent. "I figured you'd want a copy," I explained, sliding it over the table. They all stared at it as if it was about to explode. It did not, however. The goods inside were a different story. I didn't have to explain what the folder was. The bank's fraud department emblem was prominently displayed on the first page. "This is my name, my signature, but it wasn't mine. A 6-figure loan I never applied for," with the address linked to the mortgage Anel's new home. The quiet struck like a bomb. Even Anel's twins stopped squirming. My father reached for his glasses, trembling, and opened the folder, as if he didn't already know what was inside. Anel's smile faltered. "Wait. What is this?" "Oh, I think you know," I answered, as cool as ice. My mother gasped as she flipped over the pages. "This must be a mistake. There's no way." "Anel, tell him this isn't." But Anel didn't say anything. He was staring at the papers, blinking as if he was attempting to turn them into something else. "This is a bank notification," I explained. "Apparently I co-signed on your mortgage." "Except I didn't." Dad looked up. "That can't be you. Must have signed something maybe. You just forgot Elod. Forgot applying for a loan I never needed. Forgot signing away 6 figures in debt for a house I'd never live in." "Let me guess," I said, concentrating on Anel, "you used one of those old power of attorney documents Mom made me sign when she had her surgery. The one that was supposed to be temporary. The one You just happened to have a copy of Annel's mouth opened, closed it was going to be temporary. I just needed help qualifying the bank was being impossible, and I thought you thought I wouldn't notice. He leaned forwards, frantic now I was. Going to fix it, I just needed to get approved. Once I refinanced, it was going to be in my name alone. I swear my signature was used without consent on official documents, I responded with a smile. That was when Dad slapped his hand against the table. Stop it, both of you! His voice sounded like thunder. This is Christmas. I don't care what happened. We're not going to do this here. Right, I answered, because we never do it here. We don't talk about how Annel has been leeching off me since we were teenagers. Don't talk about how you all act like I'm some Scrooge because I won't bankroll his every bad decision. My mom's lips were trembling. That's not fair, isn't it? I countered. Let me take you on a little walk down memory lane. I ticked them off with my fingertips. Freshman year of college, I dropped out because you asked me to help Annel pay off his car loan after he wrecked the one you bought him. 2 years later, I co-signed for his community college. He dropped out in a semester and left me with the debt. Then the time he got evicted, who paid for that deposit, who gave him a job at their company only for him to steal from petty cash. Dad appeared to want to talk, but I did not give him the opportunity, and through all of it, you kept saying the same thing. He's your brother. He's just figuring it out. Be patient. Well, guess what? He's 34 now. How much longer does he get to figure it out on my dime? Don't act like you're so perfect. Annel says abruptly, his voice rising. You always thought you were superior to everyone since you had your act together and did not make mistakes. I turned to face him. I don't think I'm better. I just stopped expecting someone else to clean up after me. You don't understand pressure, Annel retorted. I had to show I could build something too. I needed this house. I needed to prove I wasn't just some loser. What you did may be considered fraudulent. No, I mean, he ran his hand through his hair. It's not like that. My mother attempted to grasp for my hand. We can fix this. Let's not ruin the holiday. Ruin it. I laughed. Cry. The holiday was already ruined the moment you all sat here pretending like nothing happened. Like he didn't ask me for money right after Annel told me not to come unless I was useful. Dad's jaws tightened. He didn't mean it like that. He was stressed. He meant it exactly like that, I said. And so did I when I sent him a penny. I turned to Annel. You have 30 days to remove my name from that loan. I've already contacted a lawyer in the bank. If you don't act, I will. And you leave me no choice but to act legally. I grabbed the folder, placed it back into my backpack, and proceeded to the door. Nobody stopped me. Nobody said a thing, Dan. Thus, Christmas came to an end early. I didn't expect it to go this far at first. I truly believed I could simply walk away and let them choke on their own guilt, if they had any. But you don't grow up in a family like mine without learning the patterns. Because 2 days later, the calls began first. It was, Mom, honey, can we talk? Your brother's going through a lot right now. Then, Dad, I think we need to sit down like men and sort this out. Then Annel, he had the guts to send me a video message of himself sitting in his half-decorated living room, phony tears in his eyes, drinking a glass of wine as if he were in a sad movie. Look, man, I made a mistake. I panicked. I thought you'd never say yes if I asked, and the bank was breathing down my neck. I was desperate. But it's still me, your brother. You'd really report me over this. I looked at the screen in bewilderment. Is this a mistake? You don't unintentionally fill out a multi-page mortgage application in another person's name and forge their signature. You don't mistakenly put your own family member in 6 figures of debt. He was performing his typical part as Annel, the misunderstood idealist, the guy who always had good intentions but never quite succeeded, and everyone always let him off, except for me. Not anymore. So, replied with my own Videocom director. There are no theatrics. I've already filed the legal issue report with the bank. They're opening a formal investigation. I've submitted handwriting examples, a timeline, and email evidence. You have 10 days to remove my name. After that, I escalated it legally. No more metaphors, no more let's talk about it, just facts. The situation became more serious. At that point, they showed up at my apartment the following night. I heard a beating on the door before I switched off the television. I looked through the peephole, and there they were, Anel. Mom and Dad, I didn't open the door, so Dad shouted through it. This isn't the way a family handles things. That part made me laugh aloud. I actually had to cover my mouth. Mom's voice was next. Please, sweetie, we can't let this destroy the family then. Anel responded, you're really going to ruin my life over some paperwork. You're not perfect either. You know that did it. I opened the door. The three of them appeared to have just been caught stealing from a church donation box. I said nothing at first. I just stood in the hallway, cold air from outdoors, stroking over my legs. I finally spoke. You already did destroy the family. I'm just acknowledging it. Dad stepped forward. Son, be reasonable. You want reasonable? I inquired. Let's talk about reasonable things. I took out my phone, tapped it a couple times, then held it up. This is the recording of Anel asking me not to show up unless I'd done something useful. Want to hear it again? Their faces moved, all three, and this, I added, switching to another app, is the email I received from the bank confirming the forgery. It's admissible. Anel was sweating now. Come on, man. We're brothers. I stared him in the eyes. Brothers don't steal from each other. Brothers don't lie. Brothers don't pull each other into financial messes like this and then try to make it sound like a misunderstanding. He opened his lips to speak, but I silenced him. You're going to walk to your car right now. You need to inform the bank about the issue and take steps to fix it. You're going to have them remove my name, and if I don't get a signed, notarized release form within 10 days, I go to the police. Mom gave a gasp. You wouldn't? He's your brother. Oh, I would. I'd sleep like a baby. You'll break this family, she sobbed. I tilted my head. There's nothing left to break. You just didn't like seeing it shattered. And then I made the ultimate move. I reached into the envelope affixed to my doorframe and handed them a copy of my lawyer's certified notice suing Anel for major mistakes and damages, including emotional anguish. You made adult choices. Now it's time to take responsibility. They stood there, transfixed as statues. Then I closed and locked the door and proceeded to cook popcorn that night. For the first time in years, I didn't grind my teeth. For the first time in years, my phone stopped ringing. No daily guilt trips from Mom. There are no gaslight voicemails from Dad regarding family values. Anel sent no text messages with passive-aggressive emojis or poor spelling. Just silence. And let me tell you something, stillness is addictive at first. I was waiting for the other shoe to drop. Perhaps the police would call, perhaps the bank would engage in some legal maneuvering and ensnare me in red tape. But none of that occurred. What actually happened was that Anel cracked on the 5th day after I sent the legal letter. I received a call, but it was not from him. He lacked the necessary courage. It came from his realtor, apparently. Anel panicked and listed the house for sale. She nicely asked if I would be willing to sign a release of interest to help speed up the transaction. I told her I'd be pleased as soon as Anel completed the notarized documentation to remove me from the loan fair trade. Within 24 hours, I received a PDF that had been notarized, signed, and stamped. A clean break. I was out, but that was not the true victory. The true victory came when Dad Aravita, my office, yeah, he didn't phone or text. He just sauntered in one afternoon, as if he owned the place, and looked approximately 20 years older than I had seen him before. I was now in the middle of a customer meeting my assistant, tempted to stop him, but he pushed past and barged into the room. Son, we need to talk. The client blinked. Should I? I nodded. Take 5. Dad shut the door behind him and stared around my office as if it were an exotic world, as if he had suddenly learned his youngest son had accomplished something worthwhile. Didn't know you had this set up, he remarked. Looking at the shelves, looks professional. It is professional, he nodded. But did not sit down. Your mother's not doing well. Oh, there it was, the sympathetic angle. She's upset, he added. I think you've gone too far. We all do. I remained mute, he continued. Going in Nell is talking about moving out of state. Says you've poisoned the family against him. I haven't spoken to a single relative about what happened, I said. If they're turning against him, that's his doing. Dad finally exhaled. He's still your brother. He crossed a serious line. He flinched. We raised you better than this. He stated softly, you used to be forgiving number. I used to be weak. There's a difference. Once again there is silence. Then he leaned forward. She cried, you know your mother, real tears. I bet she did after all. It's hard watching the family start standing up for myself. He looked up. I was tired. You're angry. I'm free. He stood. Slowly we were trying to hold things together. You were trying to hold me together so Anel didn't have to carry anything, Anthon. I finally spoke what I had been meaning to say for years. I'm not your insurance policy, not your second paycheck. Not your plan B. I'm your son, and you treated me like a resource. He didn't respond. He just looked at me as if he had seen a ghost. I'm not coming back. I explained I'm done playing the good son. He went without saying anything further, and something inside of me breathed. Weeks have passed. My lawyer approved a non-disparagement provision to prevent Anel from publicly posting sob stories on social media. The post made about being betrayed by family disappeared overnight. I heard through the grapevine that the house sold just barely. The market had cooled. He suffered a loss. Then followed the messages Aunt Faye says. I had no idea what he did to you. If you ever want to grab coffee, I'd love to catch up. My aunt responded, just, no, not everyone believed his version. I hope you're doing okay. Even my ex texted, took guts to do what you did. I never saw that strength in you before. I did not answer the majority of them, but I did grin, because that's what happens when you stop playing the villain in someone else's redemption tale and begin crafting your own. I moved to a new location not far away, the same city, but with more light, large windows. Clean the walls. There is no ghost from the past lurking in the corners. I purchased new furniture, not secondhand. I have not borrowed from my parents, not blessed with 1,000 strings attached mine, all of it. I began sleeping better, eating healthier. My therapist even said that I appeared lighter, and here's the crazy part. I started mentoring a neighborhood kid, smart, awkward perhaps, a touch overly eager to please. I was reminded of myself at that age one afternoon after I completed working on his resume. He looked up and said, how do you get so good at boundaries? I laughed. I spent 30 years learning the hard way. But do you want to know Thetro full circle moment last week? I received a wedding invitation, not Anel's god. However, it came from one of his ex-girlfriends. He ghosted a woman 3 years ago after she told him she was pregnant. It turns out that the kid was his. It turns out that she reared that child alone. She discovered me on LinkedIn. The message contained the following: you were always the decent one. Thank you for never treating people like tools. You probably don't remember it, but when I stayed for dinner that night, you did the dishes while he watched TV. That meant stuck with me. I wasn't sure what to say, so I didn't say anything. I sat there, holding the card, letting the tranquility pour over me, because the truth is, I won, not with vengeance, not while shouting, not by burning bridges, but they walked while still holding the matches. I used to believe that being the good one was the aim. Keep your head down. Help when asked. Do not complain. Do not question. Just on giving until someone expresses gratitude or you feel deserving. That falsehood ended the day I mailed Unsell a dime. I've spent the majority of my life carrying obligations I didn't create, paying for decisions I didn't make, and absorbing blame. Like an emotional sponge for a family that never inquired how I was doing and for what respect, love, belonging I received. None of those. What I received was a fake mortgage application, a holiday guilt trip, and a place at a table where everyone knew I was being duped, but said nothing. Not anymore, not again. Something changed about a minute after I said no. It wasn't simply how people viewed me. It was in how I viewed My selfie stopped apologizing for having limitations. I stopped second-guessing my instincts. I stopped trying to rescue those who would abandon me to drown as soon as it became inconvenient. Something unusual happened. The weight is lifted. I literally lost 20 pounds in 3 months. Without trying, my shoulders have ceased aching. My jaw stopped clenching. When I slept, it turns out that carrying a full family's dysfunction on your back is far heavier than it appears. I began rebuilding both financially and personally. The apartment is basic but peaceful. I chose each item within it with purpose. No hand-downs. There's no guilt furniture. Nothing was bought with blood money or bribes. I bought a tiny espresso machine because I enjoy coffee, not because someone told me I needed to cut back to pay for their bailout. I joined a boxing gym not to fight someone, but to remember what it is like to stand firm. People gradually began to show up with the correct ones. My neighbor invited me to dinner with his family. I felt awkward at first, waiting for some questions and angles. But there wasn't tone, simply delicious food and laughs. One of my coworkers gave me a Christmas card and remarked, "You've been different lately. Lighter, happier. I hope it's permanent." I said, "Me too." My family went quiet for a spell. The calls began to trickle in. Mom began with her quiet voice, which she employs when she wants to pretend nothing has happened. She asked if I wanted to come to Easter brunch. I asked if Anel would be there. She replied, "Of course." I replied, "Then I won't." Then Dad called. He said he missed me. They said the house felt empty without me. I asked if he missed me or the version of me who never said no. He hung up. Anel never called, but I learned through the grapevine that he moved in with a buddy once the house was sold. He created a podcast about repairing your life after betrayal. The irony almost killed me finally. They stopped calling. The silence became a blessing, but the true ending is the one that sticks with me the most. It was a random Wednesday. Rain is tapping on my balcony. I was reading when a letter came through my postal slot. There's no return address. I opened it. Inside there was only one page typed. "You accomplished what I never could," you said. No, you walked away. You showed the rest of us what was possible. Thank you. No name. But I recognized who it was. My cousin. Maybe it's my aunt, even one of Anel's exes. Someone still imprisoned in that poisoned orbit, witnessing my escape and realizing they